Okay, so I'm going to be doing this video while I'm trying to do some work here and hope that I don't mess up. But, no, I shouldn't mess up actually. But this is a video that talks about the Great Seattle Invasion on Tacoma. And I call it that because I can't lie, I didn't come up with it on my own. There were other people who came up with that just as a comment that they put that they put down in a in the comment section of a article. And I call it the Great Seattle Invasion of Tacoma, and it's not what you think. Because, before I was talking about, obviously, and you hear videos from time to time that talk about, getting a home here or an apartment here, and the number of people that's actually moving to the city has really grown. The image of Tacoma has changed. A lot of people still hold that negative image, but really and truly, one of the cities, you don't need to see that, one of the cities that is a shining star right now out of all the cities in this region would be Tacoma. And that's not because I live here, but it's due to a lot of things. Now, Seattle, of course, will always be the brightest star. Without a doubt, Seattle is always going to be, for the foreseeable future, the brightest star in the region. It just is. More tourists go there than any other place. See, I almost messed up. So more people, when they come here, that's where they go. That's where they stay. And that's where they do the bulk of their visit, right? They may go to some of these other places outside of that, but most of it's going to be down in Seattle or over in Seattle. But a lot of that is going to change. I mean, it still holds true that, yeah, I mean, when people come here, especially folks from other countries, they're coming to see Seattle, right? But the Great Invasion has nothing to do with any of those things. It has to do with the businesses that are either completely relocating here from Seattle, or they're opening up their second, third, or fourth store here, or their expansion, let's say their expansion stores here. And some folks because people don't like change. They don't. Some folks in Tacoma don't like the change. Line Bike, they're doing their little trial run here to see if Tacoma's a good fit. So they're not going to be permanent as of yet. They may be. Hopefully they will be. But more details came out. They're basically here for 2 months. Well, a lot of people was upset about Line Bike coming here because they just wanted to complain and say, well, there's going to be bikes everywhere, and there's going to be theft, and there's going to be this and that. That happens. But that has nothing to do with whether or not the company should put their bikes here or their business here. When it comes to companies coming from Seattle, or mainly restaurants and bars, but mostly restaurants for now, people say the same things. Like, well, not if somebody's going to steal it, but people are saying, like, we don't want those businesses here. Oh, we don't want this and that to happen. Oh, we don't want to be crowded out. It is what it is. The future is not, and I've said this before, the future is not in Bellevue or in Redmond or in Bremerton. I've had long discussions about Bremerton. I don't think I ever want to talk about Bremerton again. It's not in any of those places. It's not in Federal Way. For now, it's not up in Everett. It's not any of those places. For now, it's in Tacoma. And the reason why it's in Tacoma is because Tacoma has been the one city out of all of those that has gotten the most negative, nasty, vile things said about it. And they're just not true. And businesses can actually do the research, and they really look into any area to understand the dynamics. And the economy down here is booming. for businesses. Now, it may not be booming for people's paychecks, but when it comes to new businesses opening up, this is just the start of it. And there's other things that will happen in the future that look towards bigger, brighter picture in terms of big companies and jobs and things like that. But what you're seeing is that these companies are taking a chance on Tacoma because there has been such a negative view of the city for so long that no one really wanted to invest in the city. And there's such an, even after the city made a lot of improvements and a lot of the things that it was known for, the bad things, a lot of those things went away. Are there still issues? Yeah, but there's issues in Seattle. They were talking about some of the issues that were going on there in terms of gangs and stuff. But you don't really hear about that, but you hear about it here in Tacoma. And what it did was create this void. Literally, people would locate around it, and even now, people will locate in other places around Tacoma, but not in Tacoma, because they're afraid of the city, even though there's other areas here where they're constantly in the news about something that's not positive. Tacoma still holds this this little bit of stigma, but that's slowly changing. To the people who are from here, who have lived here, and they've seen what the city was like at one point and how it's changed for the better, they don't want to have the city look like Seattle Part 2, right? They don't want to see the crush of traffic and the downtown that is got, you know, less and less parking and all of that stuff. They don't want to really see the culture of the city change, right? They like the city the way that it is. And they're okay with change, but they don't want drastic, fast change like what's happening now. Now you're seeing a very quick development and change. You know, I talk about brewery blocks for a reason, and I have nothing to do with brewery blocks. And Noelle talks about how all the times I give a lot of YouTubers free publicity, and I give companies and businesses free publicity, and that's fine. I mean, that's not my intention. I have nothing to do with those. Did I delete stuff? Oh no, it's up there. That has nothing to do with anything. I don't have anything to do with those particular companies or institutions or any of that, right? So me talking about them, if that helps them out, that's good. I think that's a great thing. I doubt it. I mean, it's not like I carry that much power. But if that were to happen, then I think that's great. But when you look at brewery blocks, that is a major, major development in an area that really needs it. And the location is perfect because it's a mixed-use development that's true to the name of mixed use. And it's using a construction technique that's kind of new that cities are not too keen on because they don't know enough about it, but it's using cross-laminate timber, which allows for the construction time to be a little bit cheaper and also a little bit faster, but you're still getting high quality. And so that's part of it. The second part of it is that it's using 3 different aspects. It's using retail, which is key. It's using office, which is also important, and residential. So those are 3 things, mixed use, that it's doing. Okay, so it's using all of those particular components. The project is actually being built in phases. So it's literally an entire block-long section in downtown Tacoma, and it's right next door to the University of Washington, Tacoma, and it's up the street from Pack Avenue and all of the museums and the light rail system with a stop right there. And really, and basically it is right there where, not exactly in the same location, but it's basically within earshot distance of the town center development. But it's taken old, dilapidated buildings, buildings that some are falling down, and it's basically building those structures and sometimes adding several floors to them, some of which they're completely gutting out and redoing, and some is just complete new builds. And they're basically making that area livable. And there is a restaurant that's coming from Seattle, and it's moving into one of those retail spaces. And that restaurant will be open sometime next year. So folks were saying, we don't want the Seattle invasion. And people were saying, I don't see a single restaurant as being a Seattle invasion. But there's been over a dozen different restaurants from Seattle making their home in Tacoma, downtown Tacoma or close to it. And when you look at Ryan House, which came from Seattle to here, it has had a tremendous amount of success in Tacoma. Some would argue and say it had more success here than it did up in Seattle. And you're seeing a lot of restaurants who are coming here, doing business, and they're getting much more success than they were in Seattle, because Seattle had too much, and it still does. There's too many restaurants, and they open one month, and then a few months later they're gone, because there's just so much competition, and everybody's fighting for the dollar. Here, basically there was a huge hole and there was nothing, and so now you have a load of people that's moving in because it's affordable, and they realize Tacoma is not as bad as what people try to paint it out to be. And so because of that, and the prices of everything is much cheaper, housing, office space, retail space, it's all a lot cheaper than what you're going to find in other places around here. So it makes perfect sense. Instead of being in some of the outlying neighborhoods of Seattle, where you're going to do okay, but there's still stiff competition, you can be in the downtown section of a city where you're going to have tourists who come through and flow through all the time, as well as university students who are right there, and office workers who are right there, and a new mall that will be built, which will have a huge number of people right there. And you're probably going to be paying much less than what you are going to be paying in Seattle in one of the outlying neighborhoods. So there are going to be a lot more that will come here as a result of, not just as a result of this particular company, but it just makes complete sense to do so. If you're a company or a small restaurant, or even a big one, it makes perfect sense to move to a place, or to actually open up a second business, or expand, or what have you. It makes perfect sense to do that because you have less competition. There's less barriers. There's less barriers. You get in first. You can kind of put your foot into a market that's really wanting it, and a market that's really growing very fast, and things are much more affordable. So do I see it as an invasion? I don't see it as an invasion yet. I see that the invasion is mainly people right now. But I think eventually, just as with retail, it's going to, just as with residential, retail is also going to have that Seattle invasion. And eventually, I think we're going to start seeing bigger companies come in as well. You tell me what you think. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe this video. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.